Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Beam webinar for artists. Thank you so much for joining and being a part of our community. We're obviously really excited to have you here because we built the Beam for you. So this webinar and the accompanying artist handbook, which you can download at any point off of our website, we put together to really show you what the Beam is all about and what to do when you get here. You're here because you're an emerging music creator. You're early in your career, you're trying to find an audience, and you're also trying to monetize. And monetization is probably a little bit harder than you thought it might be in terms of how music is released and how people pay for it. And one of the other things about building audience is it's a little bit difficult to find out exactly who your fans are because monthly listeners are pretty much invisible and your followers are stuck on the platform that you've developed that following on. So we built the Beam to give early career artists like yourself control over their audiences and also to have a place to monetize in a fan to artist transaction manner. And we were pretty thoughtful about how that came together. So we're excited to tell you. We started the company in 2025, February 2025, and we've had about 11,000 artists signed for the platform so far, and about as many fans. The artists who are on the platform love what we're doing because it gives you guys an alternative path to monetization, which is what we're really dedicated towards. People love us because of the way that we create interactions that are not just DMs and things of that nature between fans and artists. And also, we give you guys a really healthy way to compete. And that is important because the Beam is really a music chart that pays artists. Most music charts are reflections of consumption, meaning how many streams somebody had, how many D2C purchases there were, how many digital singles they sold, all kind of coming together simultaneously. That's how a chart is built. And of course, those charts that you're familiar with favor the biggest artists in the world, making it harder and harder for emerging talent to have a place and a forum to compete in. We do the opposite. Our chart is for emerging music artists only. And is not a reflection of what's going on a streaming platform, but is a reflection of excitement and enthusiasm that occurs on our platform. One of the ways that's reflected by fans on the platform is through voting, which is probably something that you've seen similar to a website like Reddit. So we know what voting is on content. Most of music runs on monthly listening. So you go to a streaming platform and you can see how many monthly listeners an artist has. And that's because you yourself and me, myself, are monthly listeners. That's how music consumers are thought of as today. So most of the music industry, I should say all of the music industry, the streamers, the labels, most chart companies, people who go about acquiring music, they all do this off of a monthly listening playbook. We don't do that. We are not about monthly listening. We run a gaming season. So it's better to think of us more as a discovery platform that functions like something like the video game Fortnite, which is an incredible experience digitally, but also runs in seasons. And those seasonal arcs are really important to us because it gives a beginning and a middle and an end. And it creates all this enthusiasm and excitement while one season winds down and a new one begins. So currently we're in season 4 of the Beam. But now that you know what we're doing and why we're doing it, we did want to talk a little bit about the current situation that you're in and how that impacted what we wanted to do when we were building the company and putting it together in the first place. So it's really important for, I think, all artists to be honest with themselves and honest with each other, and for us to be honest with you guys about why we're doing what we're doing here on the Beam. And we know that you guys get told to do a lot of things to succeed. So some of those are over here, right? Post every day, go viral as if it's that easy, chase algorithms, entertain people endlessly, also get playlisted. And this advice works really well for platform providers, but it doesn't work for artists. And so we just want to go through this situation by situation. One, you're told to post at least 15 times a week to be what is considered a high volume creator. And that's a lot of posting to do. The next thing is, you're told to make posts that are about 30 seconds long, but hook people in less than 3 seconds. The next thing that you're told is, you're told what trends to follow. And even now going into 2026, you're told what tools to actually create the posts with, especially if you're doing video content. And then you're told that, with enough social followers, maybe you'll get playlisted or even signed. And so what we realize is that you've been told to spend a lot of time trying to influence machines, which is probably kind of the opposite of doing art. So with all those situations in mind, it is 2026. The numbers are in, and it's not working. So in 2025, 38 million new tracks were uploaded to streaming services. 33 million of those new tracks have less than 100 streams, maybe even zero listens, because that's not publicly reported. Um, the other thing when we think about getting onto a playlist and doing all this social activity and putting out all this music, is that 70% of the music contained in the playlist is older than 18 months or even more. Um, most industry surveys say that about 52% of music consumed didn't even happen in this decade, wasn't even created in this decade. So that is what we're up against when we think about this social following work that we do compared against releasing music. So it's our belief that you don't need more instructions, you just need fewer obstacles to have music discovered. And there needs to be a product like the Beam that is just solely focused on music discovery, absent all of this other stuff out there that the world is telling you that you need to do. So, with that said, we want to talk more about what the Beam is. The Beam is a discovery release system designed for new and emerging artists. So it's our belief that you don't need another place to post and hope. We have a fundamental belief that discovery should be in action. Discovery should be about a bunch of people selecting something and showing that they're selecting it. And artists who are incredible at creating music also are really good at getting people to understand it, putting flyers out there to get people to show up to a show. It's the same exact thing as getting a following to show up digitally, especially on a place like the Beam. So for us, we create, big moments through brand sponsored challenges, through our chart system. Fans are able to participate in those outcomes and influence them. And on our platform, support for artists is intentional. You're not put into a playlist based on a vibe or a mood or something along those lines. It's really for the diehard active fan who wants to discover new music and really carry those artists forward. And as mentioned before, the Beam charts are not streaming charts. They measure active participation through voting, but not just through voting, the amount of profile views and page views an artist has, the amount of likes and comments on a piece of music, the amount of sharing that goes on, all of that factors into our chart methodology. And primarily, we're really building momentum around new music, not older hits. And so we believe that this chart system is a really clear and really fair way to be discovered, since they're all just about discovery. The other thing that we do inside the platform is we invite brands into the platform. Music and brands are really tied together in so many ways because brands love to use music to showcase their commitment to the culture, and showcase their commitment to what young people are doing. And so we know that brands want to work with emerging artists. So we help them. And so brands form brand clubs on the Beam. You're able to join them, you're able to follow them. And through those brand clubs, the brands create these challenges, which we'll talk about more deeply. But they're really about creative brand moments. They have transparent outcomes. And what we do with these challenges is produce real earning opportunities for you and real discovery opportunities for you. We also recently launched Discover, which is our feed, our shareable feed of the music that's happening inside of the charts. the Beam is six genres, so the popular genres, and then the Beam 50, which is our aggregate chart. The chart that has all the genres in it. Um, and so, you know, what we could do on Discover is not just go through the music that's available on the chart, which in any season is really only going to be the 120 top songs that are in the charts. But Discover is a way to sort of search or sort by genre to discover all of the new music that's in the platform. So that's available for artists as well as fans to use and to use a lot and spend time on inside of the Beam. And so ultimately, through the charts and through Discover and through challenges, it's our belief that we built a real system, as opposed to a slot machine where you are doing everything you can to influence how a machine might think. And then, of course, as soon as you understand it or maybe break the code, the machine moves so quickly into what it thinks will be trendy or cool next that you just can't keep up with it because the machines are seeing so much data and you're an artist trying to explain who you are to the world. You're a young person who is telling us about, the world we live in and how you feel about it. And that's what you ought to be doing as an artist. The other thing is, our belief releasing music shouldn't mean that you just disappear into a feed. We want to promote you. So we have an editorial system and a bunch of editorial series. Beam Selects and Artist Spotlights is when we talk specifically about artists that are on the Beam. We have franchises called Chart Check and Why This Is Climbing, which talks about the momentum that's occurring on the chart. Weekly Edit is just an editorial series about fans and artists. And then we also have a long form podcast called Ridiculously Specific, where we go very, very deep into one of your songs that's on our charts, why you wrote it, how you were feeling when you wrote it, the experience of it, what equipment you use, going all the way down into all the tools that an artist really uses to communicate and bring themselves forward into the world. So we want to promote you. We want to work collaboratively with you across the ecosystem to produce content and let the world know what you're doing and why you're doing it. With all that being said about what the Beam is, we think it's really important just to dive in a little bit more deeply on music chart seasons and why we arrived at a point of view where music chart seasons were going to be important. So most music charts tell you that huge artists already won. We in our seasons show new artists before they're big and when they're at the start of their careers. We think that this is really important because when you get around to a point where you've got millions and millions of monthly listeners, there's a whole system in place that can carry you forward. And we love that that system exists. But what we really want to be a part of is the early career energy, the early stories that are being told, and the early successes. The other thing about our chart seasons is when a song gets to number one on any of the charts, that song is retired. So a music chart season lasts about 12 weeks. We have a bunch of challenges that are interspersed, throughout it, which is really cool and allows the brands to create momentum for you and themselves. The other big thing about this is, of course, it concludes. So when we go from one season to the next, which takes about a week or a week and a half, all new music comes onto the platform. The songs that were on it before were retired, and you don't end up in a situation where a song from 1977 winds up at the top of the chart and suppresses everything else. The seasons allow us to really focus on a particular era of and a particular momentum that's occurring artistically. So we're dedicated to the here and now for emerging music creators. The other thing that we believe is when everything is available, which it is in music, and anything can basically chart at any time, it's hard for things to feel really important. So getting to be number one on the Beam, introducing a new track onto the Beam, highlighting that, showing that across the world through a track submission process that we have in place. We are really dedicated to just creating these moments for new music that really matter. And this is to us really the discovery effect. What we're really focused on here is small tribes of early believers. And we think that those small tribes of early believers are more important at this part of your career than a huge passive audience. And so we want to put the chart system in place and the networking that we can all do together in place to aid that discovery prior to having your music put forward to massive audiences, which there's a system for, and they do a really, really great job of that. So I just want to talk a little about some of the artists, that are here. Olivia Burrell, who's a pop artist from New York City, came in as a late comer to season three and won the pop chart. She walked away with about $2,200 in earnings, from that season. Giamatti, who is a pop artist, hip hop pop artist as well from Los Angeles, won the Beam 50 for season three and for season two. So he's at about $27,000 of earnings off of the Beam. And for the artists that you see on this page, the Beam is really the first place that they earned, and so that's really what we want to also bring forward, is that the Beam is the first place new artists earn. Also, just want to point out V12 is an emerging Latin artist from Florida, and he was the winner of a challenge that we did with the Miami Heat, where they had a Latin heritage campaign called the Dale Heat Challenge, and they were looking for a song custom written for their artists to produce and for their athletes to walk out to. So a really big moment, in the game, but also for an artist. And what ended up happening with V12 is the Miami Heat, we got hundreds and hundreds of submissions. They chose his track. And just imagine going from submitting a track to be played by a globally recognized brand like the Miami Heat, to then going and being courtside with your mom and watching your favorite team come out with your music blasting in an arena to 22,000 people. These are the type of moments that we want to create over and over again for early creators at the Beam. And that's what our job is to do. Our job is to go out and get these brands to get really excited about early career artists and what they can do to collaborate with each other. And so V12 is just the first of many instances of this as we go on and grow the Beam with you and for you. Now that you know a lot about what we're doing here and why we're doing it, just want to give some orientation. And these aren't instructions, but it's sort of the first things to do first, when you do join the Beam. There's profiles on the Beam. It's really easy to make yourself discoverable. It helps fans and other artists recognize you. And, you can add your links and your pre-saved links and everything else, onto the Beam. So after you sign up, just going to edit profile allows you to get into your artist page really quickly, and fill things out really quickly as well. Choose one song to lead with. This is really important. We are a chart-based game. And so that song that you want to lead with is really critical to how you're introduced. So you don't have to come in and put your whole catalog up. You can put as much music on the Beam as you'd like. And anything that you post does go into the Discover section of the Beam. But, we want you to choose the song that you believe in the most at the moment you come in, because we're season based and we're moment based. You also don't need a full bio about yourself associated with the song. It doesn't hurt. But of course, a profile pic always really helps in terms of having the audience and other artists and the brands understand who you are, and what the music sounds like. We are season based, as you guys know, so join the season. We want you to enter the current season. This is curated. We do listen to this. And these seasons produce a clear moment, for new music to really matter. And entering a season, gives fans a reason to show up now, not later. And we heavily promote our seasons, to the core audience, and abroad. So definitely join the season and enter into it. The other thing we recommend you do, we have a process for going out and getting listeners onto the platform, but you are also free to invite the people who already believe. There is a superfan subscription on the Beam. that you can utilize, your fans can utilize. It's 549 for the year. And if you're already out there, sending people your pre-save link, um, you know, you could do the same thing with us and just have them come to the platform. And instead of just a pre-save, get a vote, and that vote can carry you towards a money-making outcome, as well as a status outcome. So inviting your followers is free for them and for you. So we think this is a really nice replacement, for the pre-save. The pre-save again being another thing that you're told to do to try to influence a machine, as opposed to a direct money making outcome, which is what we have in the beam. So those are the things, that are important. Choose one song, join the season, get your profile going. And if you got a core set of people who really believe in you, tell them to join the party and come in because it's free. Last thing here, when you download this, we've got a bunch of great resources for you guys about everything that we're doing here. And these are constantly updated. And we're, again, super excited to have you here as an early stage artist. We want the Beam to be a place where you succeed. And the best way to do that is to submit that track and start your movement and start your journey on the Beam. And join the 10,000 other people that are here right now and the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands that are going to join as we progress. Thanks, guys.